Luke chapter 15 verses 1 to 32, there will be great joy in heaven over one sinner who repents. The tax collectors and sinners were all drawing near to listen to him, but the Pharisees and scribes began to complain, saying, "This man welcomes sinners and eats with them." So to them he addressed this parable: "What man among you having 100 sheep and losing one of them would not leave the 99 in the desert and go after the lost one until he finds it? And when he does find it, he sets it on his shoulders with great joy, and, upon his arrival home, he calls together his friends and neighbors and says to them, 'Rejoice with me because I have found my lost sheep.' I tell you, in just the same way there will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous people who have no need of repentance. Or what woman having 10 coins and losing one would not light a lamp and sweep the house, searching carefully until she finds it? And when she has found it, she calls together her friends and neighbors, saying, 'Rejoice with me, for I have found the coin which I had lost.' In just the same way, I tell you, there will be rejoicing among the angels of God over one sinner who repents." Then he said, "A man had 2 sons, and the younger son said to his father, 'Father, give me the share of your estate that should come to me.' So the father divided the property between them. After a few days, the younger son collected all his belongings and set off to a distant country where he squandered his inheritance on a life of dissipation. When he had freely spent everything, a severe famine struck that country, and he found himself in dire need. So he hired himself out to one of the local citizens who sent him to his farm to tend the swine. And he longed to eat his fill of the pods on which the swine fed, but nobody gave him any. Coming to his senses he thought, 'How many of my father's hired workers have more than enough food to eat, but here am I, dying of hunger. I shall get up and go to my father and I shall say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I no longer deserve to be called your son. Treat me as you would treat one of your hired workers.' So he got up and went back to his father. While he was still a long way off, his father caught sight of him, and was filled with compassion. He ran to his son, embraced him and kissed him. His son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you, I no longer deserve to be called your son.' But his father ordered his servants, 'Quickly bring the finest robe and put it on him, put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Take the fattened calf and slaughter it, then let us celebrate with a feast. Because this son of mine was dead and has come to life again, he was lost and has been found.' Then the celebration began. Now the older son had been out in the field, and on his way back, as he neared the house, he heard the sound of music and dancing. He called one of the servants and asked what this might mean. The servant said to him, 'Your brother has returned, and your father has slaughtered the fattened calf because he has him back safe and sound.' He became angry, and when he refused to enter the house, his father came out and pleaded with him. He said to his father in reply, 'Look, all these years I served you and not once did I disobey your orders, yet you never gave me even a young goat to feast on with my friends. But when your son returns who swallowed up your property with prostitutes, for him you slaughter the fattened calf.' He said to him, 'My son, you are here with me always, everything I have is yours. But now we must celebrate and rejoice, because your brother was dead and has come to life again, he was lost and has been found.'" Chapter 15 tells 3 separate parables, but they all have the same fundamental meaning. The Son of God has come to save those who are lost and celebrate those who were lost but now are found. In verses 1 to 7 we are told the story of the lost sheep. The Pharisees and scribes complain that Jesus speaks to and eats with tax collectors and sinners. Jews of the time hated tax collectors because they were viewed as turncoats, and they were Jews who were collecting tax money from their fellow Jews to support the pagan Roman Empire, their oppressors. Because of their religious arrogance they didn't view themselves as sinners and wanted to maintain their distance from those whom they considered less than themselves. Was their real complaint that Jesus ate with tax collectors and sinners, or was it that Pharisees themselves hadn't received an invitation from the tax collectors and sinners? In any event, the Pharisees' arrogance would have forced them to refuse the invitation. The word Pharisee means separated ones. Jesus came to save the lost, but the Pharisees themselves didn't think they need help finding the path to salvation. They considered themselves as the ones blazing the trail. They thought, after all, we are Jews by birth, therefore we must be assured of salvation. They failed to recognize that in the eyes of a perfect and just God, all people are His creations and thus all are equal. To give advantages to one group would be unfair, thus imperfection, which is not possible with a perfect God. Their arrogance blinded them to the truth. The woman who had lost one of her coins did everything she could do to find and return it to the others, didn't she? The final parable in this chapter is about people who have left the church, or the son or daughter who have left the family to follow their own star, but consider how happy and welcoming we are when they return. Jesus doesn't want to lose any of us, consequently He does everything to grant us the grace to return to the flock, but we need to accept the invitation. There is joy in heaven is over the lost sheep, the lost son, the lost coin that has been returned. Don't we all join those in heaven rejoicing when the lost among us have been found? Joy is the infallible sign of the presence of God. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin.